Hello everyone, this is your professor once again, Danny Kabulay, and we are now in video number 3 for week number 8. And let's talk about the interview process. Well, there are basically 3 phases in the interview. There's the pre-interview, yung mga nagaganap bago mag-interview. Actual interview, that's the real interview. Okay? And then finally, post-interview. What happens after the post-interview? So, 3 phases. Phase 1, pre-interview activities. There's planning. Kailangan yung interviewer, iplano niya maigi yung mga kailangan niya para sa interview. Like, sino ba ang mga interviewers? Ano ba yung schedule? Gagawa ka ng schedule. Ano ang venue? What is the proper venue? And then, what kind of interview will you make? No, is it a online interview? Is it face-to-face? Panel interview? And then you're gonna prepare the forms that you need. The interview form that will be filled out by the interviewers, and then the application form. Kasi sometimes, habang nag-aantay yung aplikante na dumating, nag-fill up na sila ng application form. Kung hindi pa sila nakapag-submit o nag-fill up. Okay? The second activity would be review of the CVs. Kailangan babasahin uli ng mga interviewers yung biodata ng mga aplikante para makagawa na sila ng shortlist. Sino ba yung mga first nilang shortlist? At saka pwede nilang gamitin yon as basis for their questions. Kasi sa biodata, pwede kang makagawa ng mga tanong sa iyong aplikante. Number 3, shortlisting of good candidates. So bago ka magpatawag ng mga aplikante, pipiliin mo muna sino yung ipapatawag mo for interview. Hindi naman lahat na nag-submit ng biodata ipapatawag mo. Pipiliin mo lang yung mga qualified, yung mukhang okay ang biodata. Okay? So how many will proceed? Now, kung ikaw ay tapos na sa preliminary interview, you need to decide how many will you shortlist for the final interview. Okay? Then, scheduling. Now, you have to allocate ample time, no, for intervals. Hindi naman pwedeng sunod-sunod yung interview. Magpapahinga rin yung mga interviewers ng mga 3 to 5 minutes. They have to go to the comfort room. They have to get water or coffee. Okay? They have to answer some phone calls also. Okay? So, kailangan din ample time for the interview questions. Like, how many minutes will you allocate per applicant? Huwag naman yung 5 minutes, masyadong maiksi yun. Okay? Siguro you will allocate 15 to or 20 minutes for rank and file interviewees. Okay? Maybe up to 30 minutes. Tapos mga 30 minutes to 60 minutes for every applicant for a managerial position. Siyempre yung managerial position, medyo mahaba ang interview doon. Marami kang itatanong. Okay? Now, then you make the appointments. So, this is going to be based on who are confirmed to show up. Okay? So, gagawa ka ng schedule, tatawagan ng sekretarya yung mga taong in-invite mo for interview, make the appointments, and then antayin mo kung confirmed na darating sila. Pag hindi sila darating, you can adjust the schedule. Okay? Now, let's proceed to the second phase. Actual interview activities. You welcome the applicants. That's the first thing. Siyempre, pag winelcome yung mga applicants, saan mo sila pauupuin? Yung tinatawag natin na waiting area, or sometimes it's called holding area. Then, while waiting, they can fill up the forms, okay, yung application form, or yung, maybe in some cases, yung mga ibang company, habang nag-aantay, sumasagot na sila ng test, yung test na 15 items, 20 items, 30 items, psychological test, ayan. So, pwedeng ganon, okay, bago sila ma-interview. Then, you start the interview. Siyempre, meron yung greetings, kumustahan, chikahan, yan, te-te ang tawag doon. Okay? Then, the actual interview proper. Ito na yung question and answer. Okay? So, it's usually a formal Q&A. Magtatanong ang interviewer, and then aantayin natin ang sagot ng interviewee. And then finally, end the interview. So, what's the final word of the applicant? What's the final word of the interviewee? And final word of the interviewer. And then the interviewer mentions to the applicant the next steps. Ano ba yung aasahan niya? Okay? Ano yung kasunod ng interview na to? Okay? Now, let's look at a particular case study. The cake decorator. Well, Red Ribbon, a big company, no? Part of the Jollibee group of companies, Red Ribbon is hiring 8 cake decorators. 40 applicants were scheduled for preliminary interview. Only the top 16 applicants will be invited for the final interview after 1 week. Okay? Now, here's your task. Decide on the type of interview, formulate basic questions, enumerate the interview criteria, and prepare a good schedule. Okay. So, ang ganda ng cake, di ba? Okay, tignan natin. What is the type of interview? For the preliminary interview, you can do an online interview. For the final interview, you can do a face-to-face interview. Observe health protocols because we still are in a pandemic. What is the interview criteria? Ito yung basis kung paano sila gradean sa interview. Okay? Quality of work experience. Okay? So may mga tanong tungkol sa kanyang trabaho. 30%, that's the highest. And then work attitude and values, yung kanyang ugali sa pagtatrabaho. 25%. Creativity and innovation. Gusto natin makita kung gaano siya malikhain o meron siyang art sa katawan. Okay? 20%. Then personality. Okay? Yung kanyang kilos, yung kanyang pananamit, etc. Paano siya makisalamuha? 15%. And finally, communication skills. Okay? Ano bang lumalabas sa bibig niya? How does he communicate? Very important yun in the workplace. 10%. Okay? Now, so here are some of the basic interview questions that you could ask. Kasi maiksi lang naman yung interview, no? Let's say 20 minutes, okay? Or 30 minutes. Why should we hire you? Why did you leave your last company? What do you like most about being a cake decorator? What was your most challenging cake design? What cake design were you most proud of? How do you typically start your day at work? How many cakes can you decorate in a day? Where do you get inspiration in decorating cakes? What compensation package or salary is acceptable to you? How do you upgrade your skills and techniques? What is your technique to minimize wastage and spoilage when decorating cakes? What are the things you don't like in a boss? Can you describe your family situation? What is the most difficult experience or situation you encountered? How did you manage it? How do you see yourself in 5 years' time? What do you do during your spare time? So those are the sample of questions you could ask a cake decorator. Now, the preliminary interview schedule, day 1, we are going to program 20 people to come on day 1. 10 people will be interviewed, first batch from 8:30 until 1:45. Then the second batch will be 1:50 until 6 p.m. So there are 20 minutes allocated for each interviewee, and there's going to be a 5-minute break interval between interviews. So the interviewer can rest a bit, okay? So for the final interview, only 16 will be invited. So we will be allocating about the same amount of time, 20 minutes. After all, this is going to be the second interview already. Then after 4:25 p.m. at 4:30 p.m. until 5:30, the interviewers can deliberate, discuss, and make a decision on who are the 8 applicants to be hired. Sometimes it is not necessarily those who scored the highest. It is going to be the best fit candidate. Sino yung bagay sa company? Okay? Then, here is the exercise I want you to answer for your recitation. Wanted telephone technician. Smart Telecommunications is hiring 15 telephone technicians. 67 applicants submitted their CV and all of them will be interviewed next week. As an HR officer, what are the things you need to prepare for these job interviews? Okay? What are the things that you will need to prepare? You need to prepare for these job interviews. So, please place your answers in the comment section at the bottom of the video lecture number 3 for week number 8. Okay? So stick around. I'll see you in video lecture number 4.